Today's episode of International Paddock is sponsored by Supreme Formula Racing. More on that in the podcast. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in a little bit. I'm hiding from everyone. You can only see my fringe, and that's a good thing. Welcome back to the International Paddock Podcast. How are we this evening? It's very good to see everybody back. It's been very intermittent us being on the podcast the past couple of weeks, but I mean that's what it is. Mr. Sam's in the chat. He's actually also with us this evening as well. Just three of us in the box tonight, because I think it was a worthy time for just the three of us to be here, and we'll get that sorted right now. So I'm just gonna hit the Win G key and get everybody in here. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the box Mr. Mike Wallace. He's back. How are you, Mike?
I'm good. How's yourself?
Good. Oh, I'm doing good. I'm doing fantastic. I mean, the fact is that everybody got to hear the fact that we've got a sponsor, finally, for the podcast, which is quite good. And also, we've got Mr. Sam Fairbairn. He's also in the chat. Hello, Mr. Sam.
Hello, just doing the rounds in chat.
Just doing
if
the
anyone's
rounds.
actually in there.
Just doing the rounds. It is what it is. Anyway, how are you guys getting on? Very interesting weekend in racing, isn't it?
Enjoyed it. Nice
I'd say
weekend.
so, yeah.
I've had the super bikes, the endurance bikes, F1, football, horse racing, you name it. I've watched it.
It was quite entertaining. We had also, in the American side of the pond, we had basically IMSA was at Indianapolis, and that looked interesting. I watched a few bits of the highlights. Fucking hell, that was some crazy racing that they had through there. Super Trofeo and Porsche Cup were very, very good, to say the least. Very good. And it was pretty good also to see the GTPs actually doing that track as well, because now you got to see that track getting hammered around instead of it just being Indy cars all the time. Yeah, it's just crazy. I've got a little fact for you guys. Did you know that Indianapolis is the largest spectator sports venue in the world?
No.
I can get the statistics. I think it has. It's boasted the largest viewing numbers of live spectator sports in person ever at one point as well.
Did it beat the royal wedding?
Is that a spectator sport? Is it?
Depends, doesn't it?
Largest
that's your
sporting
posh
venue
person's.
in the world.
That's your posh person's viewing event, to be honest.
It
is.
is.
People.
Well, here you go. Indianapolis Motor Speedway has a capacity of 257,325 spaces. It also can be boasted larger as well, to nearly, I think it was nearly an extra 200,000 with the infield as well being added in, which is absolutely insane. That the fact is that can get up to about, nearly 500,000 in spectators in Indianapolis Motor Speedway at that one moment in time. Like, that's a large gathering of people. It's crazy. Do you know that it's obviously, and it's a racing venue as well. Do you know what the second one is?
Aintree.
Incorrect. Sam, your guess. Go.
What was the question?
What do you think is the second largest sporting venue in the world for viewers?
Daytona 500.
Incorrect. I'm going to tell you the answer now. And I think none of you guys should be surprised. I think this is, it has to be this one. The Circuit de la Surf. What track am I talking about there?
Le Mans?
Yes,
What?
Le Mans. Yes, that one.
Le Mans, yes.
Le Mans. And then the third biggest is Tokyo Racecourse, which is obviously for horse racing, which is crazy, absolutely
Japanese
crazy.
Cup.
Adelaide Street Circuit they're saying it would boast 210,000 people in Adelaide, but I don't feel like that's correct. I don't think that's correct. I think that's been jibbing a little bit. Shanghai International Circuit in, well, Shanghai, 200,000 spectator value. And
I'm going
Texas
back
Motor
to when I
Speedway.
was a kid. I'm going back to when I was a kid. Knew nothing about motorsports apart from speedway and banger racing, and I saw something advertised, a race at Lemons.
Lemons, Lemons.
Lemons.
Yeah, and I remember saying to my dad, "Where's Lemons?" And he says, I don't know." I said, "There's a race on at Lemons. Can we go?"
Lemons.
Lemons.
When life
It was
gives
Le
you
Mans.
lemons, go to a race.
Yeah.
When life
Le
gives you
Mans.
lemons, you talk about lemons in a race car.
Yeah.
And that's how it goes. We've had a lot of changes going on in International Paddock over the past few weeks. A little bit of stuff that we're not ready to talk about just yet, but we had the reason why we're running late is we were discussing those things because we do tend to have a little team meeting before we go live, and that's why we tend to run late most of the time. But it's always good for us because this is an opportunity for everybody to sit down and see each other again. My head feels like it's sitting on a pedestal right now. That's a little bit better. We've got a little bit of racing to talk about today. I'm going to try and touch on all the stuff that happened in IMSA. Sam, I don't know, F1 for yourself today. And Mike's just got his segment easily done. And then we've got ERC. We're going to chat a little about Papa Champs. And then we've got a conversation to have. But I really want to get to that conversation because I cannot wait to piss people off. We're going to talk about IMSA today. This is our sort of main results from the weekend. Obviously, I'm going to start the results with, hopefully, if you bear with me, I really, really want to get the Michelin Pilot Challenge up because it was very good. It's very, very good. Let's have a look. Okay, anyway, we'll just talk about the standard race. The race was won by Porsche, it would seem, this weekend. Very, very well done to them. Can't seem to get the viewing angle to work with me. Why is this not working? Game, please. Hello? Hello?
There are no lights at home, unfortunately.
ET phone home. I can't. Why is this not working? I had this working earlier. Well, I can give you the statistics of the race. It was 113 laps. Time in minutes was 161 minutes of racing altogether. If you work that out, it's about what that work out to be. So, my brain's not working. Help me.
Don't try and think too hard. Never try and think too hard.
60, 120, just 2.5 hours roughly, right? Closely.
We'll go with that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
2.5 hours of racing.
We'll go with
Either way, I'm gonna talk about trying to get the fucking results up. Can I get the results, please? This is rubbish. It's absolutely rubbish because I can't see. It's not letting me click on things. Hold on, let me get the IMSA app up. Okay, this is a great start, chat. Talk amongst yourselves about how many people.
And use that massive fringe. Use the power of the fringe.
Honestly,
Maybe if you shifted the fringe, you'd be able to see what it was doing.
yeah. Well, ladies and gentlemen, your results from the 2023 IMSA Battle on the Bricks is going to be as follows. If it'll let me press buttons. Nope.
Yes, the fringe is getting in the
The
way.
app's just crashed. The app it heard me shout at it. It didn't like it.
I don't like it.
It's actually this is really shit. Come on. There we go. Don't crash. Don't crash. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Who would have thought that Penske won at a track that Roger Penske owned? Nick Tandy and Matteo Giamone won in the Porsche. In second was Matt Campbell and Felipe Nasr in the second Penske Motorsports Porsche. In third was a fucking BMW, ladies and gentlemen. How the fuck did BMW end up getting there? I don't know. In fourth was, she's falling short, the Whelan Engineering Cadillac. Basically Action Express Cadillac, which is, depressing. After that, Wayne Taylor Racing, finishing in fifth with Felipe Albuquerque and Mr. Ricky Taylor. In sixth was the other Acura with Colin Braun and Tom Blomqvist, with Meyershank Racing with Kerr Bagajanian. In seventh was my team, kind of sad. Actually really sad. Renger van der Zand and Sebastian Bourdais finishing seventh. And in eighth, Mike Rockenfeller and Timon van der Helm in the JDC Miller Porsche. Harry Ticknell and Juan Maria Bruni also finishing in ninth as well, which is not too good for them. In LMP2, Mikael Jensen and Stephen Thomas in the TDS racing car finishing in the class win. Louis Delatraz and Dan Goldberg for Tower Motorsports in P11/second in class. And in 12th, Ben Hanley and George Kurtz in the Crowdstrike Racing by APR. Very good pace all round, actually. It looked like Louis Delatraz and Dan Goldberg were slower than Ben Hanley and George Kurtz on average, but ended up just obviously the way it was. Ben Keating not managing to get on the podium in class this weekend with Paul Loup Chatin. The PR1 Matisian Motorsports car not managing to get there very well, but it is what it is. Wayne Boyd and Anthony Mantella finishing in basically the top of LMP3, the dentist class. Yeah, that's all I'm going to talk about with them. GTD was Philip Ellis and Russell Ward for Windward Racing. Can I add that Windward Racing both actually won the GT3 or GTD class, and also in the Michelin Pilot Challenge they won in the GT4 as well, which was absolutely insane. Laura Spinelli finishing P2 with Misha Gokenberg with the US Racetronics car. And Brian Sellers and Madison Snow in the Paul Miller Racing BMW finishing in third. The Aston Martin of Roman De Angelis and Marco Sorensen of the Harton Racing team just falling short of the pole, the actual race as well. They were half a second slower than the BMW, which is not too good. Porsche, the US Racetronics car as well, just so much quicker than the Aston this weekend, it would seem. Turner Motorsports BMW of Robbie Foley and Patrick Gallagher just sort of in the lead there. Trent Hindman and Alan Blinchhoff, weird fucking name for Wright Motorsports Porsche, 124.5. Again, very, very close in GTD. Pfaff Motorsports of the GTD Pro class of Patrick Pile and Klaus Bachelor. Managing to beat the Corvette of Jordan Taylor and Antonio Garcia, literally, as it happens, to be near enough the end of that car's existence. It's so sad, actually. I feel bad to say that, but we're not going to be seeing the C8 in its sort of, GTE spec anymore. I mean, it kind of is GTE still, just classed down the way. But yeah, very sad to see that car going. Some cars not managing to make it to the end. Ashton Harrison and Kyle Marcelli in the Racers Edge Motorsports car, which is an Acura, didn't manage to make it to the end. High Class Racing with Ed Jones and Dennis Anderson in the LMP2 class didn't get to the end. And the only McLaren in the class of GTD, Frederick Schandorf, and Brendan Aribe of Inception Racing didn't manage to really keep up with the pace as well, which is a big shame for everyone else. So, couple of DNFs in that racing, but it is just racing, ladies and gentlemen. It's just racing. You just gotta fucking suck it up and accept that your driver is shit. The current standings at the moment in IMSA are simple. Ricky Taylor and Felipe Albuquerque are leading with 2,171 points respectively. Alexander Sims and Pipo Durrani on 2,157. In third at the moment seems to be BMW, with Nick Yaloli and Connor Di Filippi, 2,098 points, respectively. Matteo Giamine and Nick Tandy, 2,073 points. And then Tom Blomqvist and Colin Braun in the other Acura for Meyershank Racing, 2,053 points for the drivers. The teams so far, it's the number 10 Konica Minolta Acura ARX 06 that's in the lead. In second is the Whelen Engineering Cadillac. In third is the BMW Team RLL, which is Rahul Lanigan Racing, if you want to be stupid, I guess, and pronounce the whole name. That's number 25 car. The number 6 Porsche is for, Penske Motorsports is in fourth. In fifth is the 60 Meyershank Racing with Kara Bagajanian Acura. And in sixth is the 01 Cadillac Racing, not having a very good year this year, it would seem. Just ahead of the number 7 Porsche Penske, which has been hit with loads of troubles, as well as the car number 8, which is the 24 BMW M Team RLL Motorsports car. JDC Miller new to the championship and sort of not being a part of it. They are basically ninth. They didn't get their car until after Daytona, so they missed out on some big points haul. And the O2 Racing Cadillac is obviously the WEC only entry that they actually entered for the 24 Hours of Daytona at the start of the year. And the 59 Proton competition car, it's a new car in the championship as well. It's the WeatherTech car. It didn't manage to. It's not really doing too well at the moment, but that car is more primarily focused on WEC as well. Added on to that. It still seems to be an LMP2, the number 52 PR1 Mathiasen Motorsport car that's got Ben Keating and Paul-Loup Chatin there. The number 11 TDS Racing car in second, and the CrowdStrike Racing by APR in third.
Interesting.
And we don't have any standings for LMP3 because they're shite. But GTD Pros as simple as this. The number 14 Vassar Sullivan car with Ben Barnicoat in the car is the car in first at the moment. Corvette, number 3 Corvette, is...
Ben Barnicle, that's a good name.
You love calling him that. It's Ben Barnicoat. Barney.
Oh, Barnicoat. Oh, sorry.
You see, I'll catch you out there. And then the Pfaff Motorsports car in third place, the number 9 car. Not too far off. The standings are very different right now. WeatherTech Racing car, the number 79 WeatherTech Racing car, should add, is in fourth. The Heart of Racing AMR is in fifth. And Risi Competizione Ferrari is in sixth. Iron Lynx in seventh. Turner Motorsports in eighth. And AF Corsa in ninth. And MDK Motorsports in 10th. Just to round off all the standings, we're going to talk about GTD. The US Racetronics Lamborghini is in, 7th. Why is it not giving me it? That's correct. The number 1 Paul Miller Racing car is in first. Heart of Racing Team 27 car is in second. And the Vassar Sullivan number 12 car is in third. Inception Racing, obviously not having a good result this time round, drops to 4th in the standings. And the 96 Turner Motorsports car is in 5th place there. So, pretty good. BMW at the moment in the overall manufacturers in the whole entire series has 3,205 points. Aston Martin has 2,861 and Lexus has 2,763 points respectively. There you go. Pretty good to add all that up, but it's what happens when you combine all the points together. That's all I have to say on IMSA. I'm going to pass you over to Mr. Michael, who's going to tell you about the MotoGP and some of the stuff he's been watching this weekend.
Yeah, it was no GP actually, Andrew. It's the British Superbikes that was held at Oulton Park, just up the road from my good self. I'll just hang on a minute. I need to switch the light on because it's gone really dark. As dark clouds and I think thunderstorms are gathering in Cheshire. So just bear with me a minute.
There's a risk to life, by the way, in the south.
What when?
For 6 o'clock this evening, which is now. There's a storm warning, yellow warning.
I'm not in the south.
I know.
Northwest.
You're fine though, but you're probably seeing those clouds building.
But the thing is, Andrew, right? I'm just looking now. It honestly looks like snow the cloud. It's like just looks like it's going snow. But anyway, it's not
So it
good
looks
snow.
like snow clouds. The clouds don't look like snow.
You know what?
I got confused.
The clouds are made of snow. Yes.
I feel
anyway.
like you need to clarify those things, Mike, because
Clouds are made of cotton wool.
I
Aren't
wish.
they?
I beg to differ. We wouldn't be flying if they were made of cotton wool.
Hey, imagine trying to get a plane through that to a cotton wool. Yeah.
You know, I reckon Jamie would manage to get a plane through cotton wool. So
Be all right if you were crashing in an airplane, wouldn't it, running into a cloud?
yeah, I guess.
And I think we're getting sidetracked.
I think we might be. All right, Mike, fire away before I get lost
Yeah.
in this conversation.
No problem. British Superbike's old part, just at the road from the good self. Anyway, Glenn Irwin took an emotion winning the bike social sprint race. Irwin and teammate Tommy Bridewell were determined to continue the legacy of the beer monster Ducati team owner Paul Bird, who passed away earlier this month. Anyway, they grabbed the leading positions on the opening lap of the sprint race. Irwin held the lead until the final lap when Bridewell grabbed the lead from him at Cascades. Irwin regained the lead at Island Bend before Bridewell made a really costly mistake into Heslops and outbraked himself and forced to rejoin the race in fourth. Irwin took the win from Lee Jackson on the Kawasaki. Lee Haslam on the BMW was third. In the second race, Irwin was awarded the race 2 win after teammate Tommy Bridewell was penalised for unsafe conduct under a safety car. Bridewell had been leading the race from the start. Lap 14 saw Storm Stacey crash out, deploying the safety car. On the restart, Bridewell concertinaed the pack, forcing several drivers to take evasive action to evade crashing and issued a long lap penalty, which he didn't serve. Bridewell crossed the line ahead of Irwin, but because of his penalty, dropped him to 6th. So Glenn Irwin took another race win from Lee Jackson, and Yamaha's Carl Ride was third on the podium. In the last race, Bridewell completed an emotional beer monster Ducati treble win. Teammates battled on track, swapping positions several times during the race, but it was Bridewell who took the win from Irwin, and Jackson took the final podium position. Now, with Glenn Irwin's quite clear dominance over the weekend, Irwin now leads the championships by just half a point from Bridewell.
That's crazy.
Irwin
Very
has,
close.
yeah, half a point. Irwin has 360.5 points. Bridewell 360, and then there's a 60-point gap between himself and Carl Ryder in third. He's on 300 points. Liam Maslam with 283, and Lee Jackson on 280.5 points in P5. The next round is at Donington Park on 29th September. Unfortunately, I won't be here to report on that because I'm on holiday. Sorry.
That's fine.
But
You can
that's
rub
it.
it in. You're allowed to rub
Yeah,
it in.
but that's
Just yet another trip
I'm
to
sorry.
go and
I'm
have
sorry.
another
Have a
massive
day.
pint of water.
It's all right.
I'm into me water now, Sam. I'm into me water. I've
Yeah.
cut caffeine out. I just have a cup of tea in the morning, and then I'm on water for most of the day. And I must say, Sam, I do feel better in myself.
You know, before we move on, right, because I know that you guys have been commenting as well. I had a few people saying, why have you not got any fish in your fish tank yet? Well, let me just show you what's going on with the fish tank. I'm going to take my microphone off for a second, so don't say anything offensive or mad. But I'm going to turn the light off, and you're going to see the reason why. Because I've been growing out the plants.
Yep.
Look at the mat size of that fringe.
That's not gone too well. I've turned the light off, and now you cannot see a thing. So it's either too bright or it's not. Hold on. I have a plan. I have a plan.
You can see the fringe from here.
That's going to cause an eclipse, that is. Don't bend down in front of the moon.
Yeah. Somebody in chat, please clip this afterwards so you can see. Or you can view it back at some point if you feel like going through the entire thing.
Oh,
What are you two saying?
nothing.
Nothing?
Do you mind like sharing exactly what you've been saying behind my back?
Just saying what a nice fish tank it is.
Yeah, nice fish tank.
I
Where's your
appreciate it.
fish?
Michael, you kept fish, didn't you?
Yes.
Then you'll know that.
Yes, and I've told you I admire your patience because there's a lot of people buy the fish in an unacclimatized tank and then wonder why the fish are dying. And I must say, you are doing it the right way, Andrew.
You've seen how beautiful, like the moss and everything's getting. I need to get some pictures for you, Mike, because it's beautiful. The moss is really climbing and growing out and spreading. And
It's
Jesus,
lovely, Andrew.
the Eladia.
Absolutely lovely.
I love the Eladia.
A credit to you. But you don't have to send me pictures, mate, because that view I've just had will run in my mind and perhaps till the day I die.
I know exactly what you were talking about now. You were talking about my ass.
Nope.
It's
Nope,
beautiful.
wasn't that.
What?
No. Nothing. Your fish
Was he
tank, how nice it is.
Was it because I turned sideways and he said I disappeared?
No.
I need to
No,
watch
you're gonna
this
have
back.
to watch, but you're gonna have to watch this back and see. You'll hate us afterwards, but yeah.
Will I? Will I now? Oh, that's just made that's made my day. Anyway, where were we? We were talking,
Anyway,
Mike.
yes.
Mike, you talked about the British Superbikes. Very, very close there. What else have you been watching this weekend?
Nothing.
Brilliant.
Fair enough. Anyway, Sam.
No, I have.
Yes.
I have. But no, I have. I watched the endurance bikes. Obviously, I'm very unprepared because I didn't put any results down, but I quite enjoyed it. And then, like I said, I've been watching the football and horse racing. So, do you want me to talk about horse racing?
No.
Okay.
Fuck horse racing. It's not got an engine in it, so I'm not interested.
I
Anyway,
mean, it's horsepower, isn't it?
It's horsepower, yeah.
but it's the equivalent of 1 horsepower, and I'm not interested in that.
Well, my lawnmower's 1 horsepower.
Yeah, but and I can't race your lawnmower against other lawnmower, can I? So
I mean, you could have those ones that you can ride on. You could have a race between those two.
that,
And see who
now
wins.
that I like watching.
Yeah.
I think that's the most entertaining sport I've ever watched.
That'd
Right.
be more entertaining than the most of the time the topic I'm about to talk about. Let's be honest.
I think it might
Anyway.
be. Sam, take it away, my friend, because this is going to be a
Yes.
conversation.
So, your F1 action, which was brought to you from the Marina Bay circuit yesterday in Singapore, with a new layout this year, taking out most of the third sector, which meant there was a massive long straight that led to the final couple, 2 or 3 corners, rather than it just being that fiddly section around the grandstand that you're used to. Anyways, your race winner, and I can say this for once, was not a Red Bull, because Red Bull had a stinker this weekend. It was actually Carlos Sainz, and that's quite a surprise to be honest, being that Ferrari was the first one to break the duct of Red Bull this year, but did seem like the closest team, and it was Carlos Sainz who won the Grand Prix, just about 8 tenths from Lando Norris, and then about a further 1.2 seconds back, rounding up the podium was Lewis Hamilton, who got the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Charles Leclerc. Yep. Charles Leclerc just held off Verstappen, the current championship leader, for P4 in the second Ferrari, with Pierre Gasly in the only Alpine that finished the race in P6. Your other McLaren of Piastri was in P7, with Perez in the second Red Bull, who had an interesting moment with Albon, if you've seen that clip of him deciding just to yeet it down the inside where Massa sent it on Senna back a few years ago, underneath the bridge.
What,
And I don't believe...
Bruno Senna,
Yeah. Bruno Senna, yes.
That guy.
Yes, that guy. Anyway, Liam Lawson got his first points in Formula 1 in the Alpha Tauri in P9, and Kevin Magnussen in the Bolt of Haas rounded out the top 10. And your non-finishers were George Russell, who yeeted it on the final lap into the barrier while trying
I
to
saw
get
the
himself
interview.
past. Unfortunate for, I'm not going to say what I was going to say, but the second Mercedes driver. I have other thoughts on what I think about George Russell, but they're not for the podcast. Bottas, we don't know how he went out of the Grand Prix. Esteban Ocon had gearbox trouble, and Tsunoda had, I don't know what happened to Tsunoda, and
Well, he had
obviously
lap
we know
one
what happened.
troubles.
Lap
That's
one
what
troubles,
happened
I
to
believe,
Noda.
yes.
Lap one
Yes.
troubles.
And then your other car, which if you notice I only mentioned 19 drivers, you'll know why there was only 19 drivers. That's because Lance Stroll decided to bin it at the end of Q1 and wasn't able to take part because I believe there was too much damage to his Aston Martin and
Yeah.
just to the detriment of the Aston Martin team. Waste of space in F1.
We're going to
Anyway,
talk about that in a little bit because I think that's a
that's
topic
your
of its
F1
own.
results.
Thanks very much for that, Sam. I really appreciate that.
Yeah,
And
nice
Red
one.
Bull still lead, of course, because even though Perez is trying his best not to do his best in a car that for the most part is good, apart from when they change the tech regulations. Wonder if we'll see more of that next weekend out in Suzuka, or if it'll be back to usual. Anyway, you'll find out next week.
Anyway, that's the F1 results.
Moving on.
We're going to talk about Pants Stroll later on. First of all, we've got a little bit of conversation about ERC. Big moves in the managers on Wednesday, isn't it? There have been, Mike, quite a lot of drivers not managing to meet targets.
Ooh, it's my favourite. Just bear with me 1 minute. I'm trying to do 10 things at once here. Yeah, my favourite time of the year, apart from obviously the first race of the year when all the new drivers and new teams. But we've had phase 2 of the championships. After the first 6 races, all drivers are set a target. Those that don't reach their target will be put into other cars if they wish to. Other drivers will be added if those seats can't be fixed. Still nothing official, so I can't really digress who's going where, but I'm proud of one person anyway, put it that way. Yes. Where was I?
We're going to talk about ERC now. So Wednesday's race results would be
right. Yeah, okie doke. So round 6 of the managers at Singapore. Pole was set by the invincible managers driver MCL. He got on pole and obviously took the win. Sierra was second. Soviet Mario was P3. Wallace P4 and Shaggy, another Ferrari driver, was P5. So a good points haul for Ferrari. Unofficially moved them up to P2 in the championships behind the Red Bull of MCL and EXO. Say he's unbeaten in the managers, but in the 100 and the Sunday races, he's not quite 100%, but he did take the win in the 100 this week at Singapore, again setting pole time in wet conditions. We had quite a few drivers with penalties. There was 9 drivers fell to track. What's the word I'm looking for, Andrew? Help me out,
track
please.
Limits.
Or Sam. The track limits, that'll do. Yeah, MCL took the win from Little Mick, American driver. It's drives with us in the 100 on a Thursday. Pasteleo was third, Wallace fourth, and Jerry. I can't think what his full name is. Little Jerry, he was 8th. He made his debut for ERC and finished credible 5th. Should have been a bit higher up, but
Penalties.
he had a penalty and dropped him down a couple of places. But the constructors, G Spot Racing with MCL and Rookie, I've only got another 38 point gap over Bird and EXO. I can't pronounce their team name without swearing. Foco Fresca or something it says. I don't know. It's some some stupid South African phrase, I don't know. But they're in P2. And then we went on to Sunday night, last night. Me and my good friend Andrew were on comms. Only saw 3 cars with penalties. One of those was MCL, but it didn't stop him from winning the race overall. He dominated Andrew, doesn't he?
He was
Uh,
just he's in a league of his own, but
he certainly is. Certainly
unfortunately,
is.
Singapore's a track just very, very difficult to pass on. There was a few moments last night where, you know, you could very easily see a ticket going in for, but, you know, he definitely, for the most part, drove a pretty good race. He got what he needed to keep his lead over Mr. Bird, having Bird in pole position as well
Yeah,
in
Bird set
qualifying.
the
So
fastest lap. Yeah,
yeah, it's just
1:29.2. But say we got three drivers with penalties.
yeah, very, very
MCL set the
strong
fastest
race.
lap. Yeah, one safety car and only two DNFs.
Pretty solid.
It was a bit lost its excitement last couple of laps, didn't it, Andrew?
Yeah,
As gaps formed, but up until then, it was not a bad race to commentate on. Well,
yeah,
all
they were
three of
very
them, all
close.
three of them have been good.
There was
There,
some battles all around the track, to be honest. We
there
had
certainly was.
battles at the front, battles at the back, even some in the mid pack as well, which made it a little bit more entertaining for the viewership as well.
Hmm.
Qualifying was quite a good one as well. A lot of fast laps being put in near the end of qualifying. Obviously, a 1:29.2 is a very, very good lap time to have.
Yeah.
Flying in there, it's it's technically only a second and a half off the world record for Singapore. So, to have a 1:29.2 on the grid is pretty solid. I know that if MCL had qualified, though, it probably would have all went down the. We probably wouldn't be saying that. I know the pace that he can go. At the moment, I think he's down as a 1:27.7 in the world record. I think he's near in the top 40 in the world. He's very
Yeah.
quick at Singapore. There's no questions asked. So yeah, to have that time on the board as a 1:20, 1:29, still pretty respectable. Made it very competitive racing as well, because for a while, Bird was having a little battle with Wallace, and it just didn't end up materializing for Wallace. I think he started making a few mistakes, and tires started overheating a little bit last night as well.
Mm. Yeah.
As much to everyone's disappointment, I think you could physically see that there was maybe 3 or 4 cars. I think rookie license was probably the the driver that was affected by it the most. I think the track temperature somehow magically raised up a bit, and it just wasn't good for the older tires. You could see rookie; he was literally drifting his car to try and get to the end. He was no longer racing in Formula One; he was in Formula Drift last night. But he did manage to make it to the end and didn't die, which is a big achievement in itself. So,
I
congratulations
can't
to the
remember
man.
what he actually said, but Rookie did did put a bit of a message on Discord to me and you, but I can't remember what he said, because we had made a comment that he was struggling and that, and his excuse was pretty legit. I think he put the wrong setup on and one thing and another,
I think
but
it's good, but it's still like, it's not just him. There was a few cars that were struggling with rear grip.
oh yeah,
And
there
even
was.
just trying to stop the car for corners as well. You could physically see Wallace
It was
and Pasteleo.
Pro Ricardo as well, wasn't
Pro
it?
Ricardo.
Pasteleo.
There's a few of them that literally they would be on the brakes and the car would just go straight on.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like, this is definitely, there's something that it was almost like overpressured tires near the end of the race, and they just didn't have the contact patch, so they were locking up easier and they were going straight on and they were in a wall, or it's just, yeah, it's how it goes. And I think with racing,
Yeah, because you
it
did
is.
make the comment that a couple of the drivers had tyres like 50 pence pieces, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, you could physically, I mean, you can't really see it in the game, but for the amount of lockups that you can see, you can actually see the black tire marks going into corners. You know for a fact they've been locking up their tires like that. So just big 11s is going into corners is a good example of showing you that their front tires are probably the side, like they have got flat spots. So with that does slow you down. Very difficult to drive on essentially a 20 to 50% wear on the tire with flat spots. It's not going to help. You don't want that. It's just the way it is, especially if the tire is going to wear down. because as soon as you get to that point where the wheel's slowing down, once it gets slow enough and the brake pressure's high enough, that's just gonna like get caught on the flat spot, and it's gonna lock it up even more, and it's just gonna make it worse. So yeah, you can't be really dealing with that. I've dealt with it in GT cars. If you flat spot your tires, then and you do it at the start of a stint, well, have fun, because you will either end up in a wall or the back of somebody's car, if you don't drive carefully enough. So it's just, yeah, that's literally all I have to say to that. Singapore's a tough track. I raced it on Wednesday, obviously, and I don't know, man.
And next week we're at Interlagos.
That's another track I'm not very good at, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how that goes.
Would it be easier to say what tracks you are good at? Sorry, no, take the notice of me. Take the notice.
A track that doesn't have any corners.
Okay.
So a drag racing strip.
We like Hungary, don't we?
Yeah, that one. That one's got corners, right?
Yeah, but we like it. I like
yeah,
Hungary.
no, I like Hungary. I don't know, actually. I think China. I like China. I think it was very displayed well. I liked China in pre-season when I won the 100 round there, but I don't know. There's some tracks around certain places I'm just not as proficient. I'm not a big fan of Monaco. I don't really. Yeah, I'm okay at Baku. Yeah, that Bahrain maybe. I like Bahrain.
Austin.
You can fuck off with that. Miami, Austin, and Las
Qatar.
Vegas. No, I don't think I've driven Qatar yet. I've not driven the Losail. Saudi, I'm okay at, but I think you've got to be in the right car and the right setup to enjoy it.
Well, we've got Interlagos, Barcelona,
I don't mind Abu Dhabi, even though I
Qatar.
do despise the track. I think
Baku, Austin, and Mexico's last one.
I like Mexico. That's a
Yeah,
good
I
track.
like Mexico.
I've went straight on there and nearly killed multiple drivers, but it was fun. So, as long as I still class it as fun, then I like the track. I did that in SFR, tier 3. I got punted from behind and I was on the brakes, and I still ended up going straight on before the tight left-hander in going into sector 2. Just got punted and nearly killed multiple people, and I got blamed for it as well. It was quite a sad moment. But we try, we move on, and we improvise, adapt, and overcome. Something that Lance Stroll never learnt, because he is probably the worst driver to grace this planet. What an idiot.
Say it as it is, Andrew. Say it as it is.
I'm sorry, right? I've got to say this. How is he still in a seat? Apart from his daddy's little money that he gets.
Well, he wasn't in a seat, was he, on Sunday?
No, he wasn't. This to me, right, and I fucking did a big rant to my dad. It's like the amount of drivers on this planet, right? Really, really good talent from F2 that will never ever get a shot, because this waste of space, this Canadian maple syrup munching fucking bastard gets to steal
Even munch it. You can't munch maple syrup. That wouldn't work anyway.
When you've got a mouth like him, yeah, you can. I'm saying this now.
Oh yeah, true.
I am sick and tired of having this conversation about Lance Stroll. We've been having this conversation for over 2 years now as to why Lance Stroll shouldn't have a seat. I
mean, that Aston Martin is a potential race-winning car, or at least it's in the hands of, or at least podium-winning car, in terms of in Alonso's hands. But it's just getting dragged back down by the amount of times that if you work on Stroll's the garage, the amount of times you genuinely have to hear that you have to repair something in the car because he's probably broke something.
He's pressed a button somewhere because his big ape hands have pressed something wrong, and accidentally broke the whole entire rear suspension because he's clicked a button wrong.
Yeah. I have heard that Lance Stroll has got twice as many pit crew as Alonso.
I
How
honestly
do
think
we know
that's
he
so
isn't?
true.
How do we
They
know that
take shifts.
some of Alonso's pit crew don't have anything to do, so they just stick them with
Yeah,
someone to do, put
yeah,
them on Stroll's side of the garage.
Just give him to
yeah. Just
Stroll instead, because honestly,
but
right, if I was Stroll's race engineer, I would have quit a long, long time ago.
He
I would have
hasn't
went.
been
I would have
successful
went
since
and done rally driving instead.
2017 or 2017 or something like that. I don't think he's been successful since then.
I think
2017
I
was the last time, like first time he actually showed himself, and that was when he was in a Williams for Mercedes as a
I
Mercedes driver.
I think his pit crew are making loads of money because they'll be on double time, won't they? Every race weekend be
You
on
Yeah,
get
double
paid
time for
double
him.
time for
but can
repairing
I
the
can I
damage
just
that this
say
Canadian does.
can I just say right? Williams at that time as well had a driver called Sergei Sirotkin, and
Yes, who we've never seen again since as well.
he did a bit
Anyway,
of
that's for
GT
a different time.
racing, but he's Russian, so nobody cares about him. Uh,
Oh
Sergei
yeah, he probably wasn't allowed
Sirotkin,
back in the sports again after what happened, but yeah.
but Sergei Sirotkin was actually an okay driver. Both Williams drivers that year were all right. They were decent. Stroll was decent. What fuck happened?
Yeah.
What fuck happened?
I think he just stayed at being decent and he just didn't move off that mark.
I don't even think he's decent. I can't even argue the point. Compared to all the other drivers on the grid, he is not. You know,
I mean, is he
the fact of the matter is that
would he have been worse than Mazepin though? Put it this
no,
way.
he's not worse than Mazepin. Mazepin's the worst F1 driver to ever grace the grid, and that is
Not
a fact.
don't think that's the case. I think there is worse drivers and slower drivers than him, but that's for a
I
different
think you're
thing.
lying to me. Because I'm gonna say,
UGAD. There you go. The guy who literally had his super license revoked by the FIA
yeah,
because he was so slow.
he ran into the medical car off track.
Yeah, I know how he feels.
But it's just like Lance Stroll is a fucking wanker. Honestly. Right.
Well, he wants
But
to
it's same
pursue a
as
career
me.
in tennis. He'd probably get more success in tennis than he would in F1, let's be honest.
I'm gonna find
Yeah.
you some statistics.
But he's like me, right? When my dad was football manager, I didn't give it everything because I knew he was playing a week after.
Right. I'm gonna get all the recent results from Lance Stroll, okay?
Andrew?
Yeah.
I'm having my haircut at 7:15.
We're nearly done.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. He got 8 points in Bahrain, 0 in Saudi because he DNF'd, because he finished 6th in Bahrain, DNF'd in Saudi, finished 4th in Australia, 4th, alright, fair enough, so he got 12 points, finished 7th in Azerbaijan, finished 12th in Miami, DNF'd in Monaco, 6th in Spain, 9th in Canada, 9th in Austria, 14th in Great Britain, 10th in Hungary, 9th in Belgium, 11th in Netherlands, 16th in Italy, and didn't even start in Singapore.
That steadily got worse, hasn't it?
Like, can you see the trend here, right?
Yeah.
He's had 1, 2, 3 DNF, sorry, well, essentially, 2 DNFs and a DNS. Did not start, okay? If I go and have a look, it's really unfair to compare him to his teammate, because his teammate is a very experienced driver, right? But I think it's only fair, considering that's the only person in this world he technically needs to be next to. Bahrain, Alonso finished 3rd in Saudi, finished 3rd in Australia, 4th in Azerbaijan, 3rd in Miami, 2nd in Monaco, 7th in Spain, that was a shit weekend for him, 2nd in Canada, 5th in Austria, 7th in Great Britain, 9th in Hungary, 5th in Belgium, 2nd in the Netherlands, 9th in Italy, and obviously 15th he finished in Singapore. He has only not scored points once, and that was this weekend, because it was a bit of a shitter for Aston, to be honest. Right? I'm going to put that down to the fact that they didn't get enough data, because Lance Stroll decided to kill himself before they could. Lance Stroll has failed to score points in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 races this season. And Fernando Alonso is
He's
that's
only
the
missed
amount
out
of
on one
podiums
race.
he's had.
Yeah.
So, what are we doing here? You know, the car is clearly capable. They have already said that the cars are bang on equal. They very rarely do
And also,
in the race. They change parts.
I would think if there was anything, who could they? I don't know. Is Felipe Drugovich Aston Martin's reserve test driver?
He might. Yeah, I think he is. He's a much better driver. He
Why did
deserves
he
a
not
sit.
get put in the car for Sunday then, or
I
was
think
he
they
not
just
get? Was
decided
he
that
yet
they
to
couldn't
be up?
repair the car. I think that's what it was.
Because the thing is,
Where
I
would you
believe if
start
you
on
put,
that car?
yeah, where's the suspension on some corners for a
Yeah,
start? To be honest,
littered. But I'm sorry for interrupting you, Sam. But every it's like the contracts I'm drawing out for ERC now. Surely they've got a target that they've got to reach.
and I'm
You
assuming
know,
Aston Martin being improved. Aston Martin has been terrible for well, not terrible, but they've been kind of middling, at middle of the road
Who
for
would
the
you
last few
say is
years.
the right? This is a big question. Okay, who do you think is Aston Martin's like sort of closest rival at the moment? Would you say Alpine?
I'd say Alpine. Well, it's not. It's not. I think McLaren's too far ahead of them, so I think it would be. Yeah, it's gonna be
yeah,
Alpine.
Alpine. Yeah,
I think right. I'm gonna have a look. Pierre Gasly. Okay.
Obviously,
Pierre
we know that
Gasly.
Ocon had his issues at the weekend with gearbox trouble,
Pierre
but
Gasly. At least he's got on the podium. Lance Stroll hasn't. Pierre Gasly got on the
hmm.
podium in the Netherlands and got 15 points.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
that was a mad race though. So I'm not sure how much you can
it
really
was.
read into
Pierre
that, but yeah.
Gasly has failed to score points once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times,
Well, one of those times was
6 times.
Australia.
That is less times than Lance Stroll. And Lance Stroll's in an arguably better car.
And I mean, that's with the fact that the two Alpines decided that they were going to go and white flag each other and surrender and crash into the barrier. Oh, one of them did, and then took the other one with it.
Very true.
Anyway,
Here, at
If
least
you if you
K-Mag's
if
scoring
you
points.
if you halved Alonso's point total from the Aston Martin's constructors total, where would Aston Martin be?
they'd probably be a lot further down, I would have thought. Like,
A
I'm
lot
They would have
assuming.
further
managed
down,
to be
wouldn't
there.
they?
So this is the
I
thing.
think they would have been. I think they would have been below. Well, not Alpha Tauri at the bottom, I believe, this
Yeah,
season. So it's not Alpha Tauri. I think they'd fit in somewhere around about where Alfa Romeo might be.
could be.
So
Yeah.
Aston Martin, they're fourth in the constructors at the moment, as you said. Okay, McLaren's got 139 points, and Aston Martin's on 217. Okay, Fernando Alonso, okay, has literally got most of the points. So let's have a look. Literally, Lando Norris is the only driver in McLaren to get a podium yet, but Oscar was very close. Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly, well, I mean, it's them. Even Williams has 21 points. Haas has got
And
12.
Williams was
Alfa
probably used
Romeo's
to be
got
the
10,
worst
and
car
Alpha
last
Tauri
year.
has 5.
It was.
So,
Williams was last year.
you know, when you think of it, give Lance Stroll a Williams.
That'd be. I mean, would that be a good swap? You think putting? Well, the thing is though, then
Put
you take him out, and then
Albon in the
Albon.
Aston, and put
I
Lance
mean,
Stroll in a fucking Williams again, where he belongs.
that I'm going to be honest. That would then plummet Williams down there that as quickly as that actually starts, because Logan Sargent ain't scoring points.
It
Well,
sounds
not.
bad, right? But, you know, Albon's an experienced driver. Logan's the first driver in American history to actually drive an F1 without dying all the time. Scott Speed. But I think it's just a very important thing to say is that I feel
Yeah.
I feel like Logan Sargent has a lot of potential, but I don't know enough about him yet. He was an alright
He's
driver.
driving a slow car. That's also the thing. Like, he is driving a bit of a slower car as well.
I feel
But
like the better option would have been Teo Porcher. But Teo Porcher is obviously signed under, I think he's a Mercedes driver at the moment.
yeah, and there's no chance he's gonna.
He's not Mercedes. Teo Porcher. I think he's Sauber.
Was
Sauber Academy.
That means Ferrari then.
Mm.
That's going to be a few years before you see him anywhere near that team, or
But
even anywhere near Alfa Romeo.
think about that for a second. Teo Porcher deserves a seat in F1. Why don't they put him in Stroll's place? Why don't they just tell Stroll to go and suck a fat one and stop taking up a space in F1? Just being serious. Because this conversation seems to happen at least, every year. Why is Stroll back?
What? How is this
Ow.
Matt? He's a bit like that. He's like that meme of The Simpsons where Mole's trying to kick out Barney, and he just keeps coming back and appearing behind him somehow.
Yeah.
If you want to look at that one.
Yeah,
If you know
seen
which
that
one I'm on
mate.
about.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, you're right.
That
But
meme
the
template's used
question
a lot.
is, I was, there's got to be a reason why he's keeping his seat.
Daddy.
It's money, isn't it?
It's daddy.
It's daddy, yeah.
As soon as Lawrence Stroll pulls his support from Aston Martin,
They
never
got
if it
will.
ever
He's gone.
happens,
Lawrence Stroll
Lance is
owns
done.
Aston Martin. He owns the actual company of Aston Martin.
what
Maybe not the
happens if
racing
someone
team
with more
partially.
money than him comes along and says they want to buy Aston Martin? They're not going to keep on Lance, are they?
No.
No.
But there is talk of Aston Martin joining WEC again, which is interesting. So, in the hypercar class with the Valkyrie. So, interesting. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's the end of this episode of it.
That's enough. Let's just say that's enough bashing on Lance Stroll for 1 week.
I think it's about time to mention our sponsor. We got so fed up of Lance Stroll that we forgot to mention them. We actually had a sponsor for this episode of the podcast. This episode of International Paddock.
Just a little thought now for Stroll. He'll be sitting in a pub or a restaurant somewhere now thinking, why is my ear burning?
He's been getting a talking to. Listen.
Yeah. Sponsorship.
Sponsorship. None of this would have been possible without.
We're not
the friends.
sponsored by Lance Stroll, by the way.
Yeah, that is very true.
Or his dad.
Or his dad.
Yeah.
If his dad was wanting to sponsor us, then I would maybe be willing to change my view on him, not Lance Stroll, not his son.
Yes.
So, let's talk sponsorship. SFR has sponsored us for the foreseeable future for the podcast. If you would like to see more of what they would offer, you know what to do. Join our Discord. You can access them through our partnerships tab. It's so easy. They're getting ready to launch an F1 league again. They're coming back,
And an
baby.
ACC league.
And ACC is coming back on both Xbox and PC now. So you know what to do. Get there and get that sorted. If you join their Discord now, you'll make sure to get that specific seat that you want in F1. And also get onto the Grid Finder page and get in for the ACC and F1 as well. So please do. I'm like burping like fuck. I had chicken soup before this. Jesus. Please do.
Why, chicken
check
soup
my-
make you burp?
Yeah, it does actually. I don't know. My stomach just doesn't like it that much. I'm talking
Anyway.
sponsorship here. It doesn't matter about my burping. Okay.
Foul.
We've got sidetracked.
SFR obviously have sponsored us for this foreseeable future, so you know what to do. If you want to support
Thank you,
us, you know what to
SFR.
do. You got to support
Thank
them
you.
too. Thank you very much for watching this episode of the podcast. From myself here in the comms box, I want to say thank you, and we'll see you soon. Thank very much to Mike Wallace and
Yeah,
to
thank
Mr.
you.
Sam for joining us. Cal's in the
Alright.
chat. Good evening, Cal. Sorry I didn't see your message sooner. We're too busy ranting about Lance Stroll. But we will see you all again very soon. Good night. See you
Night.
next one.
Bye.